All right. Hey, we're here. I'm here with President Melby from the St. Louis Mission Presidency. And they put together some slides to help us utilize our ward missionaries better. And we hope that you can use this training in your missionary coordination meetings as you call new ward missionaries and in different ways to help members get engaged and help use the ward missionaries better. So President Melby, why don't you teach me, and then we can share this with others. So.
Okay, sounds great. So this is intended to train ward missionaries, and it's also a way to focus on getting youth involved in missionary work. Great. We'll just go ahead and jump right in. The first thing, I guess, is we should look at what the General Council of the Church has suggested is the responsibilities of a ward missionary. And this comes right out of the General Handbook: serve under the direction of the bishopric, or if that's the ward mission leader, or a member of the Elders Quorum Presidency. So that's who it's supposed to be today. And priesthood holders, sisters, and married couples may serve as ward missionaries. They're supposed to be called to a specific term of service, for example, 2 years. That might come to a surprise to some. Yeah.
That's a little bit of surprise, but you know what they say, if you want to keep it a secret, put it in the handbook. So,
well, there you go. Usually it's their only calling. They won't have other responsibilities except for just ministering. They also assist in fellowshipping and teaching investigators. And they should be visiting members' homes to encourage members to seek missionary experiences and help members to identify people that the missionaries can teach and prepare people to be taught. And then they should actively participate in the missionary coordination meeting and discussion. Now, the very center of all that activity is what's bolded there, is that ward missionaries, their main focus should be to find and prepare people for the full-time missionaries to teach. Great. So that's why it's there in the middle bolded.
Super.
The thing that we found, and we've discussed this with a lot of different units, is that the ward missionaries, they can get lost in the shuffle, and then they feel bad because they're not really doing much. And they feel like they don't have an identity of what is a ward missionary. And they feel poorly about it. And it's kind of like this spiral downwards of, I'm not doing anything and I feel bad about it. And then they just fade in the background and then don't do much.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is the opposite. We want ward missionaries to feel like this is an amazing calling, engage in the calling, and we want them to magnify their calling. And there's a whole host of ways to magnify your calling. But here's the beginning of the ways to make your calling greater, or to increase the dimensions of your calling as a ward missionary. One is to engage in prayer, and engage in prayer every single day. Pray for your missionaries that are in part of your ward. Pray for your leaders, and pray for missionary experiences for you, and pray for missionary experiences for the people that you're interacting with, the members you're visiting, the missionaries, all of the above.
Yeah.
One of the ways to magnify any calling is when you get an assignment, is to you follow up with the person that made the assignment, said, here's the assignment you gave me, here's what I've done, and you be proactive on following up with what your assignment was.
Great.
A newer facet of missionary work, which has blossomed in the last year, is that of using technology. The missionaries have become expert in this. The ward missionaries can become expert in this as well, and then can share it with members.
Wow, that's great.
It really has changed the way missionary work is done today, and anyone can do it, and it's not threatening, and there's simple, easy to engage in technology ways to do missionary work. And so the ward missionaries should learn those and should engage the members in them as well. A simple thing to be a missionary is, if you don't recognize somebody at church, introduce yourself and tell them, hey, are you here visiting? Who are you with? And just be friendly. Everyone should be doing that, but that's good advice for all of us. But a ward missionary in particular should be sensitive to that.
Yeah, we probably should tell them to wait in the foyer some weeks. Just be there, watch for people.
Absolutely.
Sit where you can see them. So that's great.
That's right. The church has a website, Love, Share, Invite, and there's the link is written right there. And that is full of wonderful ideas on how to share the gospel and how to love people and share and invite them. And it's very simple, but it's powerful. So they should be facile with that and use it themselves and share it with members.
Yeah. Got to get I think every ward missionary, that's one of the first things they do after they pray for those missionary opportunities. They go to that website and learn. That's a great
Absolutely.
resource, I'm sure, for them.
And
Super.
put it in practice themselves, and then go and help the members put it in practice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great.
So here's a few more ideas on how to magnify your calling. Invite the missionaries to meet with you and meet with other ward members regularly to help with your goals. You should set a goal of what you want to do as a ward missionary and tell the missionaries and say, can you help me meet my goals? They will be more than happy to help. That next point, the second point there says, a baptismal date is like a green light to begin to work closely with someone who's about to become a member of our church. So if someone gets a baptismal date, that means go, 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 ward missionary. That is your opportunity. Part of that would be attend a pre-baptism meeting, a lesson, a scripture reading, whatever it is. You should at least once, but probably more than once, meet with the people that have a baptismal date, and then make sure that you're in their lesson 5. So there's 5 lessons that you get when you've been baptized. Those 5 lessons are often taught by our full-time missionaries, but you should be in those. If they're not teaching them, then you should be, and you should coordinate that. And that should be a part of what you're doing as a ward missionary.
This is such a smooth transition to to our stakes idea that we want this teaching pool, these investigators to not be the missionaries, to be the wards. And if these ward missionaries are engaged in here, boy, it's an easy handoff. It just works. I mean, sitting there thinking, this is so slick. Why don't we do this more?
And it makes it natural. It makes it so that no one's uncomfortable. It just happens naturally and evolves, and the friendships blossom, the support blossoms, and everyone's blessed.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Wonderful.
And that's all part of, the last point there says, encourage others to get to know people the missionaries are teaching. You are doing it as a ward missionary, but you're also helping other people to do it. So that these new members who are brand new, tender, just learning all the nuances of being a member of our church have a lot of support, which they need.
Yeah, they have more than just those full-time missionaries. They have all these ward missionaries that are just propping them up and helping them go. So
that's right.
And you're making me want to be a ward missionary. I'm thinking, give me this calling. This would be great.
That's right. A ward missionary calling, when done right, is amazing. It's so fun to work with brand new members and people that are just joining the church, and their spirit and their love and their honest enthusiasm to learn. There's nothing like it. And being a ward missionary, you get to be right in the middle of that.
Whew. It's fun. So
the last point says, prepare a framed photo of them prior to their baptism. Or get a framed photo ready for the photo from the baptism and give them a picture of their baptism.
That's a great idea. That's so easy, but it would be so meaningful to hand that to them and say, here, a little gift for you, just remember this day. So
that's right.
Super. Great.
Here's a list of things that Sister Layton at first presented to us in one of our last meetings, but we've embellished on it and added some more. But she said, look, ward missionaries can help with this cultural transition. There's a time when someone hasn't been attending our church and now is going to start attending. And we have a whole culture that it's just embedded in our church, and we don't even think about it or see it because most of us have seen it for our whole lives. So a ward missionary could make a welcome to the ward packet, and things within that welcome to the ward packet could be a description. Here's what we typically wear to church on Sunday. They might not know what people typically wear. Tell them what it is to bring your scriptures to church and what the scriptures are and what the quote standard works are. People don't know what the standard works are, so you can spell it out to them. Tell them how to study the scriptures and what that means to study, how you can cross-reference with general conference talks, what the cross-references are in the scriptures, and teach them how to use that, how to prepare for Sunday classes and pre-read ahead of time. These are things they've never done. We just have an opportunity to teach them these things. The gospel library, the LDS tools, those will be brand new to them, and you can show them how to use them. And then discuss with them what it means to get a calling and how the ward's organized. Who's the bishop? What is counselors? What does that mean? What's the Relief Society? What's the Relief Society counselors? What does that mean? How the organization is, and that every single one of us are all volunteers. And so can teach them a little bit about the imperfection of the saints. We're all in this together, you know. And then there's a list there of just a few of the words that we use that we take for granted. Oh yeah, we belong to a stake. You know, most people know what that means.
Yeah.
You can just describe a stake, what fast Sunday is, what high council is, what primary is, what a 70 is. I mean, there's all these words we use and they won't know what they mean. So
they got to go back in their minds and say, okay, if I didn't, you know, how many of these things would be unfamiliar? That's going to be a fun exercise, I think, for them to look and stop and think.
There are a lot.
You know, even Gospel Library and LDS tools, we take those, you know, the tools, we just member tools, just to help them navigate through that would be a great thing. So super. That's a great ideas for them.
Yes, just a list of good ideas for a ward missionary to just take and run with.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell me about youth participation.
Yeah. Why don't we shift the discussion just a little bit towards how we can get our youth? And, you know, President Nelson's very first address as a prophet of our church was to the youth and the gathering of Israel. Elder Bednar has just said this over and over, how important it is our youth are so prepared to be able to do this, but they may not know exactly how. So ward missionaries can help with this, and the Ward Mission Council can help with this. Start with simple, specific assignments during the coordination and say, here's something simple and specific you can do, and make it so it's achievable, and then follow up with them. Whenever you ask any youth to participate in a meeting, it's always a good idea to remind them. A text message is a great way to do it. And that could be, you know, the day before, an hour before, but even a few minutes before, if you've asked them to ponder about a person or ponder about an experience and be ready to share it in the coordination meeting, a little reminder to ask them to do that goes a long way. Here's a principle that can be very useful, and that is engage the parents of the youth to help tell the parents, here's what we envision your son or daughter to do in missionary work. Here's what we envision them to do in our coordination meeting. And can you help prepare them? Just spend a few minutes, prepare them. And then the parents are engaged. They know what we're asking their youth to do, and it can be a more meaningful experience.
You know, a lot of parents have probably never been in a mission coordination meeting. You know, it's kind of a new, well, it's not a new thing, but there are maybe some that don't know what their children are doing. That's a great point to make.
For sure. And then the same principle that we say the ward missionaries, our full-time missionaries pray every day, all day long. They're praying. The ward missionaries should get in the habit of praying, and praying all the time for experiences, to find chosen people, to have the ability to invite. Who should I invite? But then we teach our youth to do the same thing and say, are you praying in the morning? Are you praying at night? And when you pray, are you asking for the opportunity to share, to even just invite someone to an activity? The act of praying will open their hearts, and it will open them to have the Spirit guide them to where the Lord would have them in his vineyard.
Yeah. Wow.
And then discuss missionary work in presidency meetings and in classes, and share your plans with a group. So our youth can take it back into their class and say, here's what we're doing missionary work, and here's what our plans are, and invite and excite the other youth to also get involved.
Yeah. And to see themselves as part of this work. You know, you go back to President Nelson's talk. It isn't so much we're just trying to prepare them for something. No, you're in the game. You're playing. Let's go play and have them do that. And I like the idea of bringing these things back to the Ward Youth Council meetings, and to meet in their quorum presidency meetings and share these things. So that's great.
We had in our sacrament meeting last week a young lady, Sister Gage, who spoke briefly on the little app that she downloaded. And she had, right before COVID, she had gone and done temple baptisms for 66 of her ancestors. And I asked her, I said, well, how did you get these names? And I was fully expecting her to tell me, well, my mom helped me with this. She said, oh no, I just downloaded the app and I pulled them out, printed the cards, and took them in. I said, your mom, dad help you at all? No, they didn't know anything about it. She did it all.
Yeah.
And it was simple. She showed me how to do it. And the youth really, they're comfortable with this technology. They're comfortable with finding names. They're comfortable with that. And that's a tool that can be used in and of itself to find and share people to become part of our church. So
yeah, that's wonderful. Let's get them going.
So this training really applies for everyone, but when we apply it to a ward missionary and we apply it to the Ward Mission Council, you get trained. So if you just watch this video, you've now had training delivered. The next thing is just see how it goes for the next couple of weeks, and then come back to your group and counsel and say, we had this training, we were told to do this, this, and this, and say, well, how did it work? What didn't work? And what do we need to change? And now this is living. It's a living church. That means the training needs to evolve, but what we're doing needs to evolve. We need to be sensitive to the Spirit, and we need to ask the Lord how to change it, because every ward's going to have different needs, and every ward missionary has different needs and different strengths and different weaknesses. If you'll just follow this real simple circle here, and you follow that consistently and come back and say, this is working and this isn't, you will know what the Lord wants you to do in your councils. He'll teach you.
Wonderful pattern. That's great. And I hope they will go back and think about it and reevaluate. I think we have to do that to make sure we're doing what the Lord wants us to do. Super.
For sure. And the Lord has us in councils for a reason. And we need to counsel together to make it better. We all make each other better.
Yeah.
Part of why we're here together.
Great.
So just to conclude, this work is the Lord's work. And President Nelson has made the gathering of Israel. I mean, if anyone said, does he have one major theme? I think this would be it, the gathering of Israel. And he has made it clear that this is a hinge point in the history of the Church of Jesus Christ. Things have changed dramatically in this last year. The church is different than it's ever been before. He says, the Lord is gathering those who are willing to let God prevail in their lives. The Lord is gathering those who will choose to let God be the most important influence in their lives. And I've done several baptisms for people that are being prepared for baptism, that have baptismal dates. Every one of them has told me, I was called by God. I felt that he wanted me to follow this path. So they're out there. The next question is, will you allow his voice to take priority over any other? Are you willing to let whatever he needs you to do to take precedence over every other ambition? Are you willing to have your will swallow up in his? His will is that we gather Israel, and we have the ability. We just need to focus our efforts, and he will help us. He'll help us be successful in it. And the next thing he says, now here's a quote from President Oaks. Now is the time for members and missionaries to come together and labor in the Lord's vineyard to bring souls into him. He has prepared the means for us to share the gospel in a multitude of ways, and he will assist us in our labors if we will act in faith to fulfill his work. That maybe is the crux of what a ward missionary is. They are the link to our full-time missionaries that allow us to work together and to do the work of the Lord side by side with his full-time representatives. And it's critical. It's a missing key. It's a missing key or a missing link in the chain in many places, but we need to make that link a strong link, because we will see the work grow exponentially when we do.
Right. Yeah, we need those ward missionaries to be that, not just this transition, but to be actively engaged in doing this work. I love what you've just taught us, especially just beginning with pray. We don't stop to think to pray for those people. So great. Is there anything else you want them to know?
Nope. There's a few questions there. You can ponder those questions. What does it mean that now is the time? And how is this going to be accomplished in your unit? And who's responsible to make this all happen? Those are some questions just to ponder. And now I say, is the time. It is a hinge point in our history. And we have the glorious opportunity to jump on the train. We have this chance that no one in all the history of time has had. We have the chance to be part of the gathering of Israel right now. And there's no greater time to be alive than right now and be a part of this work.
Thank you. Our state goal is to gather Israel. That's our state goal for this year. So we're going to work to do that. So
love it.
Thank you, President Melby.
Love you.
Love you too. Take care, and let's hope this training will help us all be better missionaries.
Wonderful. Thank you.